Beating someone in a multiplayer match is a massive dopamine hit. The rush from ranking up the ladder or hitting the gritty as you victory royale on some zoomers is what drives competitive gamers. You outskilled and beat anywhere from 1 to 100 other people. Or did you? What if forces outside your control were the reason you won? What about the game where you went last place? Were you the worst player in that lobby? Or did you just get unlucky? Let's find out. Every multiplayer game falls somewhere on this scale, ranging from pure luck to pure skill. Most games fall somewhere in the middle. On one end, you have slot machines. Pure randomness and seeing if your last paycheck just got 1,000 times bigger or is entirely gone. Not a lot of multiplayer games find their way here. The other side is pure skill, where every player is always given the exact same kit as the other. Games like StarCraft or Quake, where when you lose, it's because the other guy was smashing his keyboard harder than you. But does that mean these are better games? Let's look at some examples to find out. Take, for example, Teamfight Tactics, a game normally closer to the random end of the scale, with some high risk, high rolls, and highlights. They just released a new set, complete with an entire overhaul to their game. Most pros or developers will tell you it's one of, if not the best sets yet, with competitive decision making at an all time high. TFT's new set massively pushed the game several notches to the right on this scale, so much so that NA's current top player, Setsuko, is massively ahead of his competition, boasting absurd win percentages at the highest level of competition. If players aren't constantly thinking ahead, scouting other players, and flexing between multiple builds, then they're expected to fail. However, what do casuals think about that game? You know, the people who load up the game to have fun and unwind after a long day of work? The majority of their player base? Well, they kind of hate it. See, most players are looking for a laid back experience. The average TFT player wants to chase the dream teams, force the same build they love, or just turn their brain off and click what's good. Well, none of that works anymore. Those players are dead long before they get the chance to have any fun. In fact, China, one of TFT's largest player bases, has been very vocal in their unhappiness. A tweet from this Chinese TFT esports caster shows it's actually the worst ranking set of all time if you go by community feedback. The competitive nature of the new set is killing China's majority audience, entertainment only players. A Chinese player comes back from working 12 hours a day and doesn't have time to learn and improve at the game that's only getting more and more complicated. Content creators and their audiences are not having fun, and viewers are bleeding rapidly. This all leads to a fascinating study and question of what Riot will do for the next set. Will they continue to try and make the best or most competitive game possible and alienate their majority casual fans? Or do they pull the game back towards the other side of the scale, re implementing more randomness and luck into the gameplay loop? Would you split your game or pick a side? Let's look at some other games to see what we can learn. In League of Legends, TFT's older and cooler brother, Zed, is one of the worst champs in the game. However, he also boasts the highest ban rate for his lane. This is because players find the champion unfun and frustrating to play against, and Riot agrees.
You're right, Zed is weak. It is intentional. Zed must be kept weak because he is the most frustrating champion in League of Legends. And so for all of eternity, Zed will probably be slightly weaker than he should be because of how often he is banned and how frustrating.
Now, let me be clear, this isn't a bad thing, and this isn't even necessarily tied to luck. In fact, Zed is one of the most skill intensive champs in the game. Just ask Faker.
Oh, look at the cleanse, look at the moves! Faker, what was that?
What I'm trying to show is that these companies are prioritizing casual player retention and happiness over competitive balance. This doesn't just affect Riot though. Many games have to make the decision of targeting a casual or competitive audience, and ideally trying to find a way to please both. Let's swap genres over to Call of Duty and their new skill-based matchmaking. Skill-based matchmaking is designed to make sure every game you play, you're with players of equal skill. This system is designed to have more fair matches for everyone, but also protect new or lower skilled players from matching into pros and losing every game. In theory, it's a perfect solution that only improves the game. However, with skill-based matchmaking, high and low skill games all become more competitive. It means any player looking to have fun or be laid back is going to get dominated, get frustrated, and likely quit. Skill-based matchmaking pushes away players that are forced to either try hard or get wrecked. It also means players will avoid maps or modes that lead themselves to more competitive games. Players won't play smaller lobbies on larger maps where they'll likely die before even ever seeing an enemy. Skill-based matchmaking makes perfect sense in a ranked environment where everyone is assumedly trying their hardest to win. But what about casual mode? If you're going to match against players your skill anyway, why play casual? There's a large casual audience in Call of Duty, and appealing to pros is leading to large drops in players and player satisfaction. The final game I want to look at is Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact is a gacha game averaging $1 billion profit every 6 months. As a gacha game, it's very far left on our scale of randomness to skill, but it is obviously very successful, has lots of fans, and is clearly doing something right. Genshin doesn't focus on player versus player like our other examples do, but instead focuses competition on clearing higher and higher dungeons or challenges, which require better and better characters. But you don't hit the highest level by being the most skilled. You do it through luck and your wallet. Clearly, being a more skill expressive and a better balanced game doesn't equal success or even player approval. If you're a competitive player, it's easy to look at this and dismissively say, skill issue, or get good, and move on. However, remind yourself that not everyone plays your favorite game for the same reason you do. In fact, in most cases, you're the minority player base. Also remember that these games are run by these businesses. When these players don't have fun, they go and give their feedback to these companies. They'll see from data that players and spending are down. If there are less casual players, especially in a market that loves gacha and rolling for exclusive skins like China does, means there's going to be a lot less money coming in. These are businesses and they're out to make as much money as possible. So if they want to make that money, which they do, they need to make a choice. Potential profit cannot be considered exclusively though. If a game gets too random and players feel like they have no control over winning or losing, they will lose interest. Games need to reward the player for making the best choices they can. Even in a game that is 90% luck, 10% skill, the best players will win 10% more games and rise to the top. Most gamers don't want a reskinned version of a slot machine. They'll go to casinos or kick for that. Rewarding and retaining players is most important. Money comes with fans. Even in esports, the highest echelon of what a game can be, competitive balance takes a backseat to getting casuals interested and watching and buying corresponding merchandise. For example, ever notice how all the flashy, exciting Playmaker champions in League get super big buffs right before Worlds and nerfed right after? That's not a coincidence. So what does this mean for your favorite game? What will Riot, Activision, and new developers that run into this issue do? Do they try and appease everyone, or focus their reach? They could make 2 new modes, and I don't mean casual versus competitive where the main difference is stakes. I mean the entire new systems for casual and competitive gamers, where casual prioritizes fun and retention, and another is the best the game can be for skill expression and pros. I think this is unlikely. This leads to longer queues, smaller lobbies, less cohesive communities and experiences. You're splitting your player base. Also, developers would now have to manage and balance around 2 games. For example, a weapon good in Fortnite's build mode might suck in no build due to the mode's drastically different playstyle. Companies won't want to make 2 separate patches and balance changes for different games. If these companies want to make as much money as possible, it's more likely they'll lean in favor of the casual, incorporating more and more randomness into their games to keep you addicted and happy. People are seeing the trends of modern online PvP games and are going to follow the money. Too much greed can drive players away from the game and kill it. That's why most games are somewhere in the middle. Luck gives variety from game to game to keep things new and exciting, while skill lets you feel like you're improving and what you do matters, keeping gamers interested in coming back. Overall, multiplayer game developers need to make the choice. For every tick you slide a game towards the side of skill, your interested player base shrinks. Slide too far to luck, though, and people see you through your thinly veiled slot machine and lose interest when their actions have no impact. Even Genshin Impact, famously memed for its gambling, still gives players a massive world, lore, and endless list of things to do. My theory is that big gaming companies are going to push as far as they can towards the randomness scale for their genre of game without breaking that illusion of a skill focused experience. For smaller developers, it's more important to pick and know your target audience. No game can please everyone. Make your games fun and the best they can be. Do that, and fans will come. Where dedicated fans go, money follows. Thanks for watching.